Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I was lucky enough to chat with actor and musician Gino Vento. Whether it's fronting his hardcore band Thick as Blood, or playing the cartel enforcer Nestor on FX's Mayans M.C., Gino brings an incredible energy to every performance. We talk about French braids, getting his start in acting with Bloodline, the connection between storytelling on stage and storytelling on screen, and much more. It's a cool interview, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, Gino.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great, and thank you so much for taking out the time today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
In prep for this interview, I've been listening to Thick as Blood, and y'all are great. It's not often that. Yeah, it's not often researching for an interview I actually get to discover like a band.
Oh man, thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that. It was a very important chapter of my life.
I think in the first thing I saw y'all described as called y'all a punk band, and I know labels are always arguable. I'd put y'all more metal. Can you talk a bit about growing up in Miami and getting into music enough so that you're not just headbanging at a concert, you form a band?
Yeah. I grew up in Miami. My dad is a rocker, so that's how I got my taste, where I learned my palette for music. You know, I didn't listen to rock music at all, any sort, when I was young, because I was always the kind of kid that just wanted to go against the grain. So if my dad was putting me on to Black Sabbath and Dio, I was like, I don't dig that. And then as I got older, I started discovering it. I was like, oh, you know what? This is pretty cool. And then my uncle Mario gave me a guitar as a gift, and that was kind of it. I started playing guitar, and then jamming with friends in school, and then we started Thick as Blood kind of just as like a joke band, just like hey, let's just jam and whatever. Mm-hmm. And it became a real thing. It was a surprise to us, and we got to travel all over the world. We and we put 3 records out, and it was very cool. I was very much involved in like community. The genre is called hardcore, and it's metal and punk music fused together, so it's still very fast, and aggressive. But I go to shows, I still go to shows, I go to, hardcore shows. And I was just recently at a Madball show last year in New York and Brooklyn while I was out there working. So yeah, music is really important to me.
I've seen you say, or I've read in an interview where you talked about kind of finding storytelling to be the bridge between, your 2 careers. Can you talk about transitioning between music and acting, not just in the auditioning in between tours, but kind of moving from one creative outlet to another? How's that been for you as an artist?
Man, it's been cool, like the careers could be so similar, where like you could only do so much and so much is left up to you. But when it comes to, the storytelling part of it, that's you have complete creative control, right? You go to an audition and you give them the words that they put on the paper for you, but you move that story however which way you wish. You don't always have to give them what you think they want. Obviously, that might not get you the job. But if you are being true to yourself as a storyteller, you tell the story whichever way, fulfills you as an artist. And same with music, like you write these words and you say them. And that's why I love, like, hardcore bands growing up and metal bands. There's no, like, wrong way. Like, you listen to a singer and it's like, oh, wow, they sound so beautiful, they can sing. But, like, with, like, metal music and hardcore bands and punk bands, like, there's no wrong way. Like, there's no such thing as like a bad singer. It's just your way of doing it, And that's kind of what I've transitioned over from being in such a DIY community, do it yourself. And I've applied that with acting.
I know you're a fan of RoboCop, and that's also a movie that I saw at a too young an age, and it definitely made an impression on Looking back on it now, there were a whole lot of us in grade school that were running around saying I'd buy that for $1, and there was no way that the adults
Oh
didn't
my
know
God.
we'd seen
Yeah.
it.
Dead or alive. You're coming with me.
Can you talk about what you kind of took away from that? What themes kind of still excite you about that, or how do you think that set your taste a little bit in terms of what you want to do with your career now?
I think it's just, it being, it's like pop culture, right? And it's like nostalgia, both nostalgia is important to me as well. And it's like, and it's memory, you watch something and it sits with you, and then years later it either does or doesn't hold up, but it's special to you. And then also like the whole like 80s and 90s, like everything had memorabilia. Like for every film they made action figures for, like I have actually at my parents' place in Miami, I have a whole wall full of, RoboCop action figures just like hung up. And I have a bunch of Beetlejuice action figures by Kenner, a toy company that isn't around anymore. But I think that's what's special to me about a film like RoboCop. It was like, it was very of the time, and it's a special place, and the nostalgia and the memorabilia that comes with it, being able to buy action figures or books or comic books and things like that, and how it fuses together. You can't take those things away. You can hold them in your hands.
When you were watching, pop culture entertainment as a kid, did you ever really consider the roles behind the camera and what was going into making that? And do you have moments now on set where you stop and think, oh man, some kid's going to watch Bloodline or Mayans on TV and I'm part of that.
I guess I didn't as a kid. I definitely didn't. I just watched it as a viewer, just like pure entertainment. And now I didn't realize that till recently. Someone actually mentioned, I think at Comic-Con they said, I wasn't there, but the host mentioned that this is the first time in pop culture history there's a villain with two French braids. And when she said that, I was like, oh, wow, yeah. That's cool. That's cool. And it's cool to be, I guess, now a part of pop culture thanks to Sons of Anarchy, having such a dominant effect on it, And yeah, it is interesting. I didn't think about like kids watching Mayans and being like, oh wow, this is that. But yeah, it is very cool to think about now.
Can you talk a little bit about getting the role of Nestor and kind of finding the nuance and the sensitivity to a character that could easily just be the heavy?
Sorry. Yeah, I didn't read for Nestor. I've read for a couple different roles, and Elgin really was pushing for me. He's been in my corner since day one, which is awesome. And they offered me Nestor after going in for a couple roles, and Kurt Sutter said something like, "Oh yeah, we offered you Nestor because you have something evil in your eyes." So I was like, all right, cool, I dig that. And yeah, and I think that's the sensitivity behind Nestor and like his care. He cares, he's someone. He's kind of a nurturer in a way. He just wants to make sure everybody's all right. That I have to give credit to the writers, where they don't write him as like your typical heavy, because they can be that, and it's stuff. I try to stay away from that kind of stuff either way, but I think Nestor is very unique in that sense where he is human. We see him at the end of the season, and he's like bummed out, like he thought he was going to get an opportunity to kind of be right there with Mikey. Miguel Galindo right by his side, and he kind of gets he gets shunned a little bit, and that's kind of where we sort of figure out that, oh, this guy is a lunatic, but he's not just a lunatic.
You'd said earlier, there's kind of no wrong way to sing hardcore or to do your thing on music like that, but in acting, you've got to hit marks and be where you're supposed to be. And in terms of learning that craft, what do you think's been the biggest aha moment for you, where you went back to set on your next project and thought, I am improving at this. I am definitely getting this?
First time I felt that was honestly on Bloodline. I had a scene with this great actor Ben Mendelsohn, and we were just rehearsing, and I was a little nervous. Because I was a fan of his before getting the gig. I loved him in Killing Them Softly and The Place Beyond the Pines. And we're rehearsing. He's like, I guess he picked up my nervousness. You know, I wasn't like freaking out, but you know, he's more experienced than I was at the time. And he's like, "You're good, man. You're good." And I was like, "All right." And then I just realized it's just all about being comfortable. You know, everyone there also on the set, everyone in the crew is there to help you. They want you to do a good job. You do a good job, they do a good job, right? You know, so everyone's there. The camera department's there to help you. Everyone wants you to do a good job. And I guess when you know, you accept that, like, oh, everyone's here to help. It takes a village, you know?
Yeah.
You're good. And once you, you know, digest that and you're like, okay, I can feel very comfortable here. And that just makes it a little easier.
Did you ever feel that on stage, fronting the band, as far as looking out at the crowd and thinking, I got to relax. They're all here for a good show. Everybody behind, you know, the band behind me is here for a good show. We got to do this.
No, to be honest, like, I felt so comfortable playing shows. I did it since I was like in high school. So like, I played guitar for it's like my first band, and before I started singing, like, I felt very comfortable. And like with hardcore shows, it's very communal, right? It's very like, you know, like front and center. It's like, it's one union, you know, as one. So it doesn't feel very like foreign. There doesn't feel like there is a barrier between you and the crowd. It feels like, you know, you are and they are one.
Do you have anything in particular that you're looking forward to coming up on Mayans that you can talk about?
Oh man, I do, but I can't talk about it. But there is there's a couple of things I'm very excited for in season 2. But nothing I could talk about specifically. Yeah. I will say the writers are great. I think the fans are going to be super excited, and that you know, they'll continue to you know, do justice to this world that Kurt Sutter has set up for us.
Well, man, thanks so much for talking to me about it today. I really appreciate it. It's been real cool getting to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Likewise.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.